invite you to get the fuck out. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I see I see all of you here on Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins, so feel free to follow me on Instagram if you want to. I'm going to let the rest of the tribe know that we're live this morning. I felt like today was a day where I wanted to talk about Malcolm X. I kind of let God and my spirit guide me through what I'm interested in that day. And today, Malcolm was on my mind. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but it's there, and I'm going to talk about it. And I saw a great quote from Malcolm X about white liberals. And in this quote, Malcolm actually said something over 200 years. I'm sorry, I said 200 years ago. What's wrong with me? 60 years ago. That basically really explains a lot in terms of politics. And so I'm going to resurrect the spirit of Malcolm real quick so Malcolm can give us guidance through all of this. You know, we know the ancestors are wiser than all of us. We know that they can teach us things that we don't know. And so I don't know what year Joe Biden was born. I think he was born in 1946. Let me see here. Let me look up his birthday. He was born, I want to say 1946. Is that right? Let me look here. Let me see what I got. What do I got? Crap. 1942. Okay, 1942. And I believe Malcolm was born in 1925. Is that right? Let me double check that. Make sure I got it. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So when Joe Biden was born, Malcolm X was 17 years old. So he was still Detroit Red at that time. But Malcolm X, fascinatingly enough, I mean, just in an absolutely fascinating fashion, has given better commentary about this presidential election than pretty much every black person on TV. You know, it's amazing. I mean, we talk about a brother's brilliance. The idea that this man was able to say things in 1961 that literally apply in the year 2020 is absolutely amazing. So anyway, let me dig deeper into this. Do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Also, if you want to get text notifications when we go live, please text the word Boyce to 31996. If you text Boyce to 31996, you can get a text notification. I'm actually about to send that out to the crew right now. All right, so here's the deal. So Malcolm X was a person who didn't trust liberals. He felt that white liberals pretty much they exploit and manipulate the black community, and that they pretend to be your friend when they really pretty much put you in the state of what they call benign neglect. Benign neglect means we're not necessarily going to, you know, we're better than the Republicans because we're not going to go and try to harm you physically, but we're just not going to do anything for you. We're going to expect your vote. We're going to demand your vote. But if we don't get it, we're going to come for that ass, right? We're going to really give you a hard time. But we're not really going to hurt you. We're not going to do anything for you. You're just going to sit there and you're going to rot, and your communities are going to fall apart. And we're just going to pretend like we can't do anything about it. Now I want to give you ask you a quick question then. Give me a yes or no. Do you feel that that the Democratic community neglects, or the Democratic Party neglects the black community? Like, do you feel that the cities that are under Democratic rule have become worse off under Democratic rule? You got Chicago under Democratic Party rule. Chicago, I live two blocks, a block and a half away from President Obama, actually, in Chicago. That's where I lived for a long time. And people were getting shot like a couple blocks from Obama's house. I'm not kidding. Like, literally, you could go 2 blocks that way. You could be at Obama's house and go 2 blocks that way, and you better watch your back because people are strapped and young brothers and sisters are being shot down. Like this was real. This was some real stuff. You know, so as I was kind of hearing them talk about the little kids being detained at the border, I was like, well, what about the little kids that's getting their brains blown out 2 blocks from the president's house? Like, that ain't right. That don't make no sense, right? So you do agree, okay? So Malcolm X kind of called this out, you know, and I thought that it was really interesting to see what he said. And I'm going to actually pull the quote up so I can read it actually word for word because I shared it on my page. I can't remember who shared this with me. Whoever shared it with me, if I don't say your name, I apologize. I'm not engaging in benign neglect. I just can't find your name right now. But if I find it, I will shout you out. It says this. He says the worst enemy that the Negro has is this white man that runs around here drooling at the mouth, professing to love Negroes and calling himself a liberal. And it's following these white liberals that has perpetuated the problems that Negroes have. If the Negro wasn't taken, tricked, or deceived by the white liberal, then Negroes would get together and solve our own problems. Okay, so that's what Malcolm had to say. Now I want to ask you, give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. Do you agree with what Malcolm said? How many of you agree with what Malcolm said? Give me a yes or no. Yes or no? Do you agree? Or am I just being an ass this morning? Am I just being a bad person because I'm raining on somebody on people's parade? And I don't enjoy doing this. I really don't. It's really like when your kids are having a party and they're in there like drinking too much or acting a fool, and you're like you have to come in and stop the party. I don't want to stop a party. I mean, I see Roland Martin and people like that doing jumping jacks because they think they're gonna get a job at the White House or maybe on TV or something like that. I'm happy for them. I really am. These Negroes need jobs. I get that, but I just have to tell the truth. It's required. In fact, I keep waiting. Just so you know, I kid you not. On my Facebook page, I know for a fact that I got a lot of professional Negroes on my page, a lot of bougie Negroes, fraternity, sorority, all kinds of stuff that are pissed at me, that are livid at when my truth pours out, right? And the thing about truth is that truth can't just come out when it's popular, right? The ultimate test really is, can you tell the truth when people are gonna get mad at you? I had a really good friend who literally said, "When did you get so stupid?" And it made me so sad because I stood by this brother. I was like, "Brother, I stood by you when white folks were trying to lynch you up. We had the same job. What?" And so it hurts. It's very sad to have to do this. I don't enjoy this, and I keep waiting for people to unfriend me on my Facebook page. I swear to God, I kid you not. Like, if you're on my personal Facebook page, it only lets 5,000 people on. And I'm okay. Like, if you want to walk away, like if what I'm saying is too hard for you to consume, then please go, please leave, because I have a waiting list like this long of people that did this is statistics. Statistics calls it self-selection. These people have self-selected to be on my page because they're vibing with what I'm saying. So I want those people on my page. I don't want people on there that are gonna just get mad and call me names and all. I need the people that really want to build. I really want the people who want to solve a problem. In fact, I want to invite whoever's salty in here, like whoever's talking crazy smack on Instagram. I think I saw a guy make a terrible comment. There's usually like one hater or two on Instagram. Like, the trolls just sit around in their mama's basement, like waiting to say nasty stuff on the internet. Like, I'm gonna hurt your feelings today, right? But I really want to say this. Look, I need to ask you guys this. Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. Either you're trying to solve problems or you're not. Right? So are you a problem solver? Are you looking to solve the problem, or are you not? Seriously, give me a yes or no, because this is real important. I really don't care if I only have 3 people that are listening to me. If I give me 3 or 4 good people, I will trade 1,000 broken Negroes for 3 good people in a second, because I need people that want to solve a damn problem. Because you cannot sit here with a straight face on any level, on any planet. You could be as crazy as a box of rocks, and there is no way you could look at what we've been doing for the last 60 years and somehow conclude that we've been making progress. I mean, seriously, like, there is no way. Like, nobody with an IQ above 5 can look at where the black community is and what we've gone through and the state of our communities, the state of our wealth, the state of our education, the state of our families, and say, yeah, that's it. We got it. We moving now. You can't say that. Stop it, man. Stop it. I can't make myself that stupid. So You're looking at a grumpy dude. Maybe for some of you, I'm 49. I don't. That might make me a grumpy old man or a grumpy young man. I don't know. Depends on how old you are. But I'm a guy who's just sick of sitting around and not moving forward. I can't do this. I'm not. It doesn't interest me. So what I'm saying to you is either you want to solve the problem or you don't. Because if you tell me, oh, we're going to solve the problem now, how are we going to solve the problem? By doing exactly what we've done in every election for the last 40 years. Get out of my face with that nonsense. This conversation is above your pay grade. So I need military-minded people, meaning, my soldiers. I have a lot of veterans in here. And by the way, thank you for your service. I'll never disrespect a veteran. My daddy fought in Vietnam. My daddy was a problem solver. My daddy's a winner. That's why I think this way. And I need military-minded people, male and female, who are committed to figuring out how to solve this damn problem. And in order to solve it, we got to dissect it. We got to go where the truth lies, even if it's painful. Surgery is never comfortable, or in many cases, surgery hurts a little bit. You're gonna poke and prod in places that are not going to make people feel good, but you got to do the surgery. So let me keep going. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. I'm gonna read Malcolm's quote one more time about Joe Biden, and then I'm gonna kind of break something down for you that I figured out. It actually came to mind today when I was watching a Netflix documentary about cults. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button. Okay, so what Malcolm said is he said that we're going to continue Malcolm's work. So we're calling the spirit of Malcolm X into this conversation so he can give me the wisdom to share what needs to be shared to the people that really want to hear it. And maybe some of the people who don't want to hear it, who maybe will get it 20 years from now. He says the worst enemy that the Negro has is this white man that runs around here drooling at the mouth, professing to love Negroes and calling himself a liberal. And it's following these white liberals that has perpetuated the problems that Negroes have. If the Negro wasn't taken, tricked, or deceived by the white liberal, the Negroes would get together and solve our own problems. So Malcolm's basically saying this. He's saying something that I think will be applicable in this election. That when you get happy and comfortable because you think you put the right white man in power, then what happens is you get this kind of Negro mortis, not rigor mortis. I would call it the other mortis. I'm not going to use the N word, but Negro mortis. How about that? We'll use the easier N word, Negro mortis, where folks will just sit back and clap and cheer when they see white liberals kind of, like, oh, you tell them, Kamala, girl, you go get them, Okay, so the Negro mortis kicks in, and what happens is that people like me start to sound extreme. Like, what do you mean do for self? What do you mean? Create our own systems? What do you mean build our own businesses? I can get me a good job now, or I'm hoping boss will give me a good job. But yet, with this good job, you're building no wealth. You're complaining consistently about the way you're treated at work and the microaggressions, and the state of your existence as a community hasn't evolved. It doesn't change, right? So when I challenge people and I say, well, give me evidence, show me evidence that statistical evidence that our condition has gotten better, people can't provide that. So what they do is they just respond with anger. They respond by telling you how mad they are and how they can't stand you and how you need to shut up and you need to let it go and whatever. Okay, fine. All right. Yeah, I am obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. I'm obsessed with solving this problem. I'm obsessed with making the lives of the people I care about better. And here's the deal. Here's what really has to happen. We really need a black agenda. We need, and I call it an all black agenda. We need an agenda that we can pursue without waiting on corrupt, racist politicians, right? That we need an agenda we can pursue without waiting on these fake ass, weak ass, pathetic, so-called black leaders, which are pretty much Negroes they put on TV, that they tell you that are your leaders, but they're not your leaders. You don't know these people. You've never seen them before. That's like somebody appearing at your doorstep talking about, I'm your mama. Right? I'd be like, let me see your ID because you don't look like me. Right? So these fake black leaders, we need an agenda that can be pursued also. This is very important. This is what I believe can be the innovative catch to this whole conversation. This is where we're doing something different. To get different, you got to do different, right? Like when I had all my friends that I grew up with who were broke or in jail and got babies' mamas. Well, my life ended up different. Well, how did it end up different? Because I did different things. I thought differently, right? So in order for you to get different, you must do different. So the other piece here is this. Our Black agenda must also be something that can be implemented on an individual family basis that doesn't require you to wait for 40 million Negroes, at least half of whom somehow think that Joe Biden getting elected is this wonderful triumph for Black people. I saw somebody that played that scene from The Wiz when the witch got killed, and they were like, "Can you feel a brand new day? Can you remember that?" Right. And so unfortunately, that really to me comes from slave culture. This idea that we're going to sing and dance because a white man is in power, and this white man happens to be a white man who incarcerated more Black people than any politician in American history. I'll say any president in American history because it looks like he's going to be president. And so the fact that that's your best choice, that your best option for liberation is the person who single-handedly destroyed more Black families than Adolf Hitler destroyed in Nazi Germany, damn near. The fact that that's your best choice and you're dancing in the street because that man is in power is a very scary thing. I mean, it borders, unfortunately, on almost like a mental illness in a way, because there's no way the Jews will be celebrating Hitler's cousin getting elected as president of Israel. Right? There's no way that they would let Hitler's nephew become the prime minister of Israel or whatever. Right? So what I want you to kind of consider is that we need an all Black agenda. We need something that is going to allow you and your family to be good no matter what, without waiting for other people. Because unfortunately, a lot of your people are just mentally ill. It's almost like when I explained this yesterday, that a lot of times, if you're trying to clean the drugs out of your neighborhood, like Kenny Gamble out in Philadelphia, a wealthy Black man, he created the whole Motown sound. I'm sorry, the Philadelphia version of the Motown sound. I think they call it the Philly sound or something like that. So a lot of great artists came from what he did, many years ago, from the Jill Scotts to everybody else, right? He's the originator. He's the godfather out there. Kenny Gamble's also one of my adopted fathers. I told you guys I have a few adopted fathers, strong Black men that I look up to, that I call for counsel and guidance. Kenny Gamble's one, Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. George Frazier. I love Rock Newman, Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I might have forgotten one or two, but the idea is that he's one of the guys I admire. And let me tell you why I admire Kenny Gamble. Well, Kenny Gamble in the 1960s or so, when he got his first deal, where he first started writing songs, Gamble and Huff, they've written over 3,000 songs. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all this stuff. Right. Well, when they first got started, Kenny had a lot of homeboys that did pretty much what you expect, what you stereotypically expect Black people to do when they get money. He saw his friends going out and buying new Cadillacs. They were buying, fancy clothes. And back then, they would dress like the pimps. They had the big furry hats and big, mink coats and everything else, all this silly stuff. Well, Kenny Gamble was different. Kenny Gamble said, I want to learn how to manage my money. I also want to buy property in the neighborhood that I'm from. And his mother told him, she said, why would you want to buy a house in that neighborhood? Like, nobody wants to live there. But he said, but if we go there and we buy this property while it's cheap and we fix it up, then we can turn it into a place that people will want to live. So he did this in the 1970s. So this was the counter narrative to the gentrification, because white people were doing this too. White people already were like, wait, that land is by the river and Negroes are not as terrible as we thought. So maybe we can buy this land right here by the river and we'll just take it from them because they don't really know the value of what they have, right? Kenny Gamble knew that. So Kenny Gamble went and bought all this property, a ton of property right there in the worst hoods, the places that nobody wanted to live. And now here's the problem though, right? Kenny's challenge was that these were bad neighborhoods. You had the pimps over here, the dope dealers over there, the hookers over there. It was a mess, violence everywhere. So Kenny had to get real gangster with him. He had to basically go and he had to fight. He didn't just have to fight the drug dealers. He also had to fight the drug addicts, right? And the drug addicts were acting on behalf of the drug dealers. They were like, wait, you messing up our drugs. This is the best thing we got going. This is our best opportunity to feel good today. And you're trying to mess that up, right? And so when I look at the Black community and I look at what we're trying to do, when we're really trying to do something, we're trying to get something done, we got to fight the drug dealers and we have to fight the drug addicts. This happened in China when the Chinese leadership decided they wanted China to become a competitive country instead of becoming one of the laziest, sloppiest countries in the world, full of opium addicts. They looked at their country and they said, wait a minute, I get it now. We can't build anything because our people are being injected with false hope from the Europeans coming over here selling dope to our people. right? These British and French are getting paid by convincing our people that the best thing you can do with your time today is to go to the opium den and give them your last dollar so they can help you get high. So as your community's falling down around you, you're just looking for the dope. You're looking for something that's going to help you feel good so you can just get through the day, right? Well, a lot of our people are in the same condition. We have people coming from outside the community that are coming in, convincing them that the best use of your time is to get high on this dope. Except instead of dope, they might be selling hope, right? That's why they'll come out and say, my campaign is about hope and change. Things are really going to get better now. I saw somebody that put up a sign where he was so happy that Biden got elected, and he put at the top, a change is going to come, right? Where's the change going to come from? I ain't seen no change. I saw 8 years of Biden in the White House with a black man named Barack Obama. I didn't see no change, right? But they're selling you dope on a rope, but they're calling it hope, right? So basically the same way the Chinese were conquered in the opium, before the opium wars, before somebody stood up and pissed a lot of people off, well, that's what's happening to your community. You have a bunch of opium addicts that are getting high on the dope that's also called hope. But it's really soap on a rope, because y'all know what it is. Y'all know how this works. This is not speculation. This is not just my opinion. This is not me just trying to be a jerk today. This is fact. This is proven by data. This is proven by, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. If I'm wrong, then show me where I'm wrong. Show me statistics that say that the children in Baltimore are being better educated after having a city that has tons of Democrats and tons of black people running the damn city, and your kids can't even read. Who's in charge of reading in the city of Baltimore? Because I know people. Give me yes or no. Raise your hand. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you know a black person who knows how to read and can teach other black people how to read. Give me a yes or no in the chat. You raise your hand if you know at least one black person who can read and can teach children how to read. Right? Raise your hand. Because here's what I'm saying. I'm like, well, if you're really trying to solve the problem instead of keeping your own pockets fat, then why don't you go take your $1 billion or 10 billion or whatever number you get for that shitty school system you have and give the money to the people that know how to read and can teach a baby how to read. It ain't that hard to find Negroes who know how to read. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm being radical. Maybe I'm just the biggest asshole on the planet right now, but something ain't right. Something don't make no sense. This ain't adding up. This does not compute, because I know plenty of black people, many of whom, like in Freedom Home Academy International in Chicago, where they have a little school that runs on a shoestring budget, and they're educating 10-year-olds that sound like college students. I went to that school and I gave them, I made a little donation. It was about $5,000. It wasn't nothing big. I was like, man, I wish I could give you like 5 million. I just don't have that. But I gave them 5,000, and I used my platform to tell people how great their school was. And they invited me in, and we had a little ceremony. And I brought my cousin Tippy. He's my daddy's cousin, really. And he's a Vietnam vet too. Shout out to the veterans. And so cousin Tippy went with me to this presentation. And the little children were up there at 5 years old reciting like all these really extraordinarily complex facts about Black history and science and math and stuff that 40-year-olds don't know. I'm like, that 8-year-old is smarter than the college students I taught at Syracuse. Why is it? You're saying that you can't educate black people. You said you're trying and you're putting money into the budget, but you can't figure out how to teach black people how to read. Well, they figured it out. They know how to do it. Why don't you give the money to them? You're our allies, right? You're supposed to be helping us. Well, see, maybe there's a point where you have to say that the reason it doesn't add up is because it doesn't add up. Maybe the reason that they're not doing what you think an ally is supposed to do is because the person you think is your ally really ain't your ally. You know, like if you're a married man and you say my wife loves me and my wife is loyal to me, but somebody shows you pictures of your wife having sex with with all the Dallas Cowboys, then there's a point where you can't say, well, my loyal wife would never be doing this. And then there's a point where you have to say, maybe my loyal wife isn't my loyal wife. Maybe she's a skank. Maybe she's a liar. Right. So I'm just saying to you at the end, when you really do the math and you're logical about it, this all comes together. But if you're illogical and emotional and hold on to hope and dope and soap on a rope, then you're always going to believe the lie, even if it's constantly confronted with a different and more uncomfortable truth. So anyway, let me keep going. And by the way, I just to remind you, I am solution oriented. I actually put together some resources, most of them free, on a URL, the allblackagenda.com. So if you go to the allblackagenda.com, there's stuff there. I put together like a 12-point plan. It's something I put together. It's not based on extensive research. It's based on what I've seen. I also put a link to the contract with Black America that Ice Cube and his team of scholars put together. He consulted heavily with Dr. Claude Anderson and many others. This was not just thrown together. It's very, very good. I have links to free lectures like the 100-year Black Family Wealth Plan. I have a link to the 6 rules of wealth for any millennial. And also I'm going to include some resources on relationships and family, because if you decide you want to go love a Black woman, you got to find a way to make that relationship work, because that's critically connected to your ability to have economic security and other security in this world. A part of the reason that Black wealth falls apart is because your families are broken. You're not staying married. So you got baby mama-itis and baby daddy-itis everywhere. And I don't know too many baby mamas and baby daddies who are doing well financially, who are financially secure. Doesn't mean you can't be, just means that it's much harder. Excuse me. Alicia and I are financially secure largely because we have each other's back. We help each other, not just babysit the kids and do stuff around the house, but you know, when I can't come through for something, she comes through. When she can't come through, I come through. That's what teamwork is all about. You got to find the right teammates. And so that's why even who you choose to date is a really important part of your ability to be secure. When you talk about your Black agenda, it must start with you, and it must start with your family. How can I be secure and strong and empowered in a world full of broken ass, punk ass people, broken ass people who are brainwashed, who literally don't listen to logic when it's presented to them. They just get mad at logic. They get mad at facts. I want you to be successful. Okay. So anyway, so there's the URL, the allblackagenda.com. And also you can text the word voice to get notifications. Text voice to 31996. That's right there. All right. So hit the thumbs up button, please. By the way, please hit the thumbs up button. I'm going to read something to you also about in terms of some of the behavior that I've seen, from Black people in reaction to this election. And I'm going to talk about cults. And I'm going to tell you, the Democratic Party, they're real interesting. And mind you, the Republicans, I don't talk about the Republicans just because I don't vote Republican. If you want to know what I voted for, I voted Libertarian. I don't vote Democrat, though. I'm not doing that. And so, because I don't vote for people that put 100,000 Black men in prison. That would not be logical for me. And so let me read some of this about cults. This is from bigthink.com. And they talk about how cults use mind control to get people to do what they want them to do. Now, just so we can make sure we're on the same page, do you feel that there was some mind control and some psychological manipulation happening during this election cycle? Do you feel that there was some mind control, maybe from the media, maybe from the politicians, maybe from some of the speeches, some of the fear mongering, things like that, like, oh my God, you're all going to die, so we need you to, or you need us to save you or to protect you, right? Anybody else pick up on that? Okay, give me a yes or no in the chat. All right, great. So let me read some of this to you about cults and how cults operate and how they maintain control. And the goal is to get you to do what they want you to do and to not question anything, right? So the first thing about cults is they said you have to pick the right target. So not all Black people are subject to brainwashing. Not every Black person is going to just go for it. Like I just told Alicia, we were watching a documentary about cults, and I said, honestly, I'm going to tell you, from where I come from, we consider that to be sucker shit. Like we just that's why, but then again, maybe there's something about me and the way I was raised, or me being a man. Not that women aren't strong too. Women can be very strong. But like if you see somebody, like there's something this chemical in your brain called oxytocin, where basically oxytocin can sometimes affect a person's mind and make them fall in love with something or someone who does not love them back. And from what I've read in the science, women have more oxytocin receptors than men. So, for example, like if you meet a man and he's really nice to you and he gives you like the best sex in the world, I don't know if anybody's ever had that experience where next thing you know, you're like washing his dirty drawers and he can do no wrong and he'll lie to you 50,000 times and you'll keep on listening and believing it. Well, that's the oxytocin kicking in, right? That's why you got to be really careful about who you let near you, who you let touch your body, because some guys are experts at manipulating a woman's oxytocin. Like they know how to take you into the bedroom and give you the greatest experience of your life. Next thing you know, you're baby mama number 7 and you never planned for that. Like you never thought about that, right? So mind control is really big. And one of the things that they said about mind control is that you pick the right target. Like, so pimps don't try to pimp everybody, right? Pimps look for people that are vulnerable, right? So here's what it says. It says, as it turns out, most people can be susceptible to cult influence under the right conditions. Research has shown that the people who are most susceptible to recruitment, pay attention now, I want you to think about black people here and Democrats recruiting black people. The people most susceptible are stressed, emotionally vulnerable, have tenuous or no family connections, or are living in adverse socioeconomic conditions. So I want you to give me a yes or no. Are black people stressed? Do you feel like most when you hear black people talk about how they feel about being black, are they stressed? Yes or no? I'll give you a second to answer. Absolutely yes. A lot of black people are stressed, pissed off, mad, upset. Cop shot Raekwon, and I can't get a job, and these white people keep doing this to me, right? So the depression is really high among black men and black women, right? So black people are about as stressed as you can get. Emotionally vulnerable. That means easily subject to emotional manipulation. Are black people emotionally vulnerable on average? Not all black people. I'm not talking about everybody, but when you look at the mass of black people, can they be emotionally manipulated? Like, can a mass of black people be emotionally triggered a little bit more than everybody else? Yes or no? Okay. Next, do black people on average tend to have tenuous or few family connections? They said no family connections, but few, like meaning do we have more broken families than most other communities? Are we a little bit more affected by broken families than other communities? Give me a yes or no. I'm going to say yes, because if you look at the impact of the Biden crime bill from the 1990s, one of the greatest impacts was broken families. One of the greatest impacts is the fact that the majority of black children don't even have a father in the house, right? That's a big deal. I'm not making fun of anybody who's in that situation. You were a victim of a Holocaust. That was a Holocaust. I need you to go take some time, go research the effects of mass incarceration. This was why Russell Simmons and I were so adamant when we confronted the Obama administration about this issue and made them change their policy. We had to get the backing of a lot of people to do this, but we confronted them and we said, no, you will address this. You promised to address this. You must address this. And they did eventually, but it was very, very difficult. They didn't want to do it. So let's keep going. Let's see here. Oh, here's the last one. Or are living in adverse socioeconomic conditions? Yes or no? Yes or no? Would you say that the bulk of the black community, when it comes to things like wealth or the conditions of their neighborhoods, or et cetera, are living in adverse socioeconomic conditions? Give me a yes or no. Do black people fit the description? Yes or no? I don't know of anybody else who lives in worse socioeconomic conditions. If you look at most studies on wealth, you'll see Asians up here. And what's funny is Asians don't even really, their voter participation rates are terrible, right? But Asians are up here, right? Then you see white people. Dr. Claude Anderson, I talk about this a lot in Powernomics. And then you see, you start muddling down, you get to, Latino people, and then black people at the bottom. And the crazy thing, this is not even funny. I'm just smiling and laughing so that we don't get pissed off today. Because it's a Sunday morning. Why should we be mad on a Sunday, right? But the crazy thing is that if you go back and they show these charts over a 40-year period, 50-year period, black people are consistently in last place. Like we're like that basketball team that will always be last in the division every single year. It doesn't matter. They can get the number 1 draft pick. They're still going to be last. They ruin careers because they have bad management that's making bad decisions. Anybody that knows sports knows what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think here. Like, the Cleveland Cavaliers before they got LeBron, like they were just a bad organization. The New York Knicks are just a bad organization. The Dallas Cowboys spend money like crazy. A bad organization. Well, what does it all come down to? Bad leadership, bad decision making, some sort of addiction to repeating bad habits that have put you in terrible situations in the first place, right? So we are to some extent a bad organization. We end up in last place in the division every year because nobody comes along and shakes up the process. So that's why I think to some extent we're gonna have to make some ugly, like if you think about it like a basketball team, we're gonna have to trade some players from the team. We're gonna have to fire the coach, right? Your coach is your fake Negro leadership. We're gonna fire all them sons of bitches. Like, all of you are fired. Type fired in the chat. Right now, all of you are fired. Every one of you. And I'm going to go in and do a mutiny. I'm going to assume control. I'm going to become the general manager of this team right now. Maybe one of the owners, right? If you're all owners. Everybody's an owner. So I don't want to be the owner because I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to replace their bad leadership with Boyce Watkins, right? I'm not trying to do that. But I'm going to come in as the general manager and I'm going to make some changes. We are going to change the offensive strategy. We're not going to play the same offense that gets us that keeps us out of the playoffs every year. We're going to play a different offense. We're going to change the defensive strategy. We're going to start playing better defense. We're going to go get some better players for the team. We're going to start running our practices differently because we're going to create a culture of winning. You see, losing is a culture. A lot of teams get to the point where they just become addicted to losing. They become so used to losing that they're uncomfortable when they start winning. They don't even know what to do when they actually start winning. They're like, wait, we're supposed to be losing. Let's make a mistake or two so that we can get back to where we belong, right? So some of our people are just uncomfortable winning, right? White supremacy in its long form existence over the last 400 years has taught you to be uncomfortable winning. Many of our people are very comfortable as losers. They are very comfortable as victims. They're very comfortable. They're more comfortable talking about how they can't overcome their problems than they are talking about solutions to their problems. That's why when you present a solution, when you say, if we stick together, we can do this, their first response is, Negro, get the hell out of my face. Like, they get angry when you got solutions. I'm serious. You ever see that? Like, because wait a minute, like winning and solutions requires responsibility. And I can't have responsibility. I can't have accountability. I'm just a weak, pathetic Negro. I just need, my job is to show up and vote for the Democrats and let the white folks handle this, right? Like literally, like you put yourself at the children's table and the white man sitting at the grown folks table eating the big piece of chicken. You like, I belong over here with the 5-year-olds. Right. So some of y'all men are 5-year-olds. Some of the women will go along with anything. Right. So what I'm saying is that at the very least, when you talk about making this team into a winning team and helping us have a winning record and then eventually helping us get to the playoffs and then eventually helping us win championships, we're going to have to go to the talented 10th. We really are. We're going to have to go to the talented 10th. And I'm not talking about bougie Negroes who went to Yale. I'm talking about black people who are ride or die. I'm talking about black people who just don't give a shit. Black people who will fight you in the street if they have to in order to defend their families, defend their children, and build their community. I'm talking about black people who will challenge you and your thinking at every level. I'm talking about black people who believe in themselves. I'm talking about black people who will invest and build and buy the block and go out hard and educate their kids. I'm talking about the black people who ain't scared of white folks. I'm talking about black people who have not committed on any level to this idea that there are all these things white people can do that we can't do ourselves. Like, seriously, those are the people who are going to have to lead because you're going to change the culture of this basketball team. You're going to create a winning culture. And what's going to happen, here's the other thing about life, is that everybody wants to be next to a winner. Everybody wants to be next to somebody that's a champion that has the confidence, right? So what we're going to do in this generation, it's a long-term building process. It's a 100-year plan. It's not something that's going to happen in our lifetime. Is that I need you, because you're here, the few thousand people that are watching right now, you're here because there's probably 1 out of every 10 black people out here that will think like you. Seriously, 90% of the community, unfortunately, ain't ready, right? That's okay. We put them on the bench and we're going to grab the best players and we're going to reshape the offense, reshape the defense, change how we practice, change how we compete, and we're going to start winning games. We're going to have a winning record. We're going to go to the playoffs, and then we're going to start winning championships. And then once we start winning championships, other people will step their game up. Because the thing about a sheep is that a sheep is easily manipulated. A sheep is easily influenced, right? A lot of our people are sheep. We know this, right? A lot of Americans are sheep. It's not just black people, right? And the thing about a sheep I've noticed is that if you go out here and you really start winning, then the sheep will get up behind you because they'll be like, oh, I want to get on this team. because a lot of these people really want to be more black. Like they hear what I'm saying. Like they don't totally ignore me. They get mad at me, but they don't totally ignore me because they know I'm not stupid. They know that I'm presenting logic, and they're like, damn, that old Boyce Watkins, I can't stand that son of a bitch. But maybe he's got a point, right? I understand their mindset because they're full of self-doubt. That's why you follow the crowd, because you're not comfortable with who you are, and you're not comfortable with people who are comfortable with who they are. I'm very comfortable with who I am. I know the solutions. I have a PhD. I've been studying this stuff for 30 years, so I know what I'm talking about, right? I'm very confident with that, right? So what's going to happen is once they see us winning, then they're going to consider what's going on. I think the reason that they doubt some of this crazy ideology, this crazy idea that black people can actually do the same things as white people, is because they just they haven't yet seen the evidence that this will work. And this is a long-term plan that requires a lot of consistent effort, hundreds of thousands of hours of effort over an entire generation for it to start to manifest. So what's going to happen is that because you're preparing your kids for the future, you're educating your kids on Black history, you are teaching your children how to build wealth. Your children are stockholders at the age of 7. So your kids are going to the playground playing with their kids and having completely different conversations. And then your teenagers are getting money when their kids are learning how to play basketball and football. And then after out of college, your kids are starting businesses and making $100,000 a month while their kids are trying to pay off student loans on a $40,000 a year job. And then they're going to start to notice, like, wow, like maybe that's what I want to do. How do I know this is true? Well, because that's the story of my life. Yeah, that's the story of my life. I've always been an outcast. I've always been a misfit. I've always been a little bit of a renegade. I've always gone my own route. Even in high school, I did that. And here's what would happen. People would call me crazy. People would make fun of me. People would say, what are you doing? This don't make no sense. When I was at Syracuse University, they used to say, oh my God, you're going to ruin your career. What are you doing? Even the black scholars didn't want to come near me, right? They would whisper like, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, but they wouldn't do it in public, right? So it's like a little bit almost like being a hooker or a porn star or something. Everybody want to be around you, but as long as nobody else knows, right? And then when I started to succeed, when I started really winning, like when they're sitting around trying to get a 2% pay raise and they get a glimpse of like how much money I made over time, or when they see me on national television or being acknowledged by leading people around the world, or their students come up and say, Dr. Boyce Watkins, then now they're calling me saying, oh, yeah, I've been cool with Boyce all the time. Yeah, hey, Boyce, man, we've been buddies since. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I remember back in 2006, you didn't want to talk to me. You didn't want to be seen in the hallway with me. But yeah, we can pretend. Because I understand where that comes from. It comes from brainwashing, white supremacy, and low self-esteem, and fear, a lack of courage, right? So some people have courage, some people don't. Everybody doesn't have to have courage. It's like if you're building a military, you don't need every person in the entire country to become a soldier. You only need that 10%. You need that 10% of people that are going to just go out there and say, we're going to go just take one for the team. We will make the sacrifice and we will build. And what's going to happen is your children are going to be the business owners and the wealth builders and the job creators in the next generation. And their children will come and work for your children. Okay. So the last point I'm going to throw in here is this. Do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button. Also, the allblackagenda.com. You can feel free to go there. There's free resources there on the black aspects of the Black agenda. I pulled it together just to show you an agenda that we can pursue without waiting on white politicians. I'm not begging Joe Biden for nothing. I mean, I will support people that want to go meet with him, but I do not want to be invited to the White House. So if you're watching Mr. Biden or anybody else, do not invite me. I'm not your guy. I'm only going to piss you off. Right. So I want an agenda that doesn't need Joe Biden's permission. I want an agenda that doesn't need fake black leadership, like these Negroes, they pop up on TV and make you think that they're your leaders. They're not. I also don't want an agenda that requires us to sit around and wait around for 40 million black people to get on the same page. That'll take 3,000 years for that to happen. Like, it's not going to happen. Right. I want something that you can apply. This is where these ideas come from. Everything, when you talk about wealth, family, everything else, if you look at the agenda key points, most of the points are things that you can actually do right now on your own, and then also inform yourself on some of the broader issues that are going on. So I do have a link to Ice Cube's contract with Black America, which is very good, but I also have some other things there, like the 100-year family wealth plan, which is totally free, and you can go look at that, and it explains literally mathematically, this is based on science. This is not just me speculating, based on science, how your family can literally be in the millionaire status category if you make a sacrifice this generation. If you go ahead, because here's the thing about wealth. Wealth is a team sport. Wealth is not an individual sport. Wealth is not a short-term game. It's a long-term game. It's a long-term game that is a team sport. Most wealthy families that you get pissed off about and get jealous of are wealthy because of what somebody else did in a previous generation. Even Donald Trump, as much as people dislike the guy or like the guy, I don't care if you like him or not, but his wealth comes from the fact that his father, Fred, made sacrifices in the 1930s that allowed him and his children to live well in the year 2020. So the question is, are you able to think big enough? It doesn't mean you can't enjoy your life. You can still do a lot of great things for yourself right now. No question about that. But the question becomes, do you have the ability to have enough vision to even see what you can do with your family if you give yourself enough time and if you're consistent about it? Right? Because visionaries build wealth. People with no vision get paychecks. Like if all I can do is see 2 weeks out to the next paycheck, then I'm never going to be a wealth builder because I don't have vision. But it's just like sports. If you're a basketball player and you don't have court vision, then you can't win. LeBron James is a great basketball player because he can see the whole court. He can see where everybody's at one time, and he knows exactly where the open man is. So do you have vision, or are you narrow-minded? Okay, so let me finish up with this thing about cults. This is very important. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Some of you may be on a different channel. We have the Black Boss Network, which is actually a page, a channel for brothers. We're bringing brothers in that have all different perspectives. Mostly young guys that talk about everything from health to business to sports and all that stuff. So if you want to support that, I think the URL is the blackbossnetwork.com, the Black Boss Network. Oh, sorry, the Black Boss Channel, the blackbosschannel.com, theblackbosschannel.com, THE. Okay, so the last couple points about cults. So the first thing we mentioned is that to form a cult, which is what the Democratic Party does, you have to pick the right target. You have to pick people that are vulnerable. You can't go after people that have, high confidence. You have to go after people that are stressed. This is what they said: stressed, emotionally vulnerable, have tenuous or no family connections, or are living in adverse socioeconomic conditions. That makes Black people perfect targets. They said even like new college students are great targets because new college students are nervous. Their confidence isn't there. And so you could easily make them think that you're their new best friend, when they have no friends. So they said, in addition, people who were neglected or abused as children may be easily recruited because they crave the validation denied to them in childhood. So Black people, because we're subject to so much abuse, not just in our own families, right? Like family abuse is bad, but then also you have abuse from society, from white supremacy. The white man's been abusing you too. And then if you say, let's say your father was hooked on crack, well, that's a form of abuse, right? The emotional damage that comes from that, right? So they said that people that are easily sucked into, say, the Democratic Party cult and easily pushed in a category where they're going to do what you tell them to do are people that have been abused as children. Right? Because they're seeking validation. Black people are the biggest validation seekers known to man. We need white folks to tell us that we're good. We need white people to give us permission. We need white folks to give us fancy titles, nice jobs, and fancy awards for us to feel like we've actually accomplished something. If a group of Black people create an award and say, this award is just as valuable as winning an Oscar or winning a Grammy, a lot of Black people will say, no, that's not an Oscar or a Grammy. That's a Negro award, right? Because you put extra premium here, a premium value on what they create and a lower value on what you create, right? Because their ice is colder in your mind. You are a white supremacist. You have been led to believe that if I go to Yale or Stanford, that I am somehow better educated. I'm better than that person who educated themselves or who went to a Black school. Right? I've yet to hear a white man say that he made white history by getting accepted into an HBCU. I've never seen that. But I've heard many examples of Black people claiming that they made Black history by being accepted into a white university. So in your mind, you've been trained to believe, indoctrinated. Thank you. That's a great word. Indoctrinated to believe that being close to whiteliness is godliness. And when you value something, when you put a premium value on something, you'll pay for that. You'll pay for that. Like there's a reason why, you got a rapper that'll pay $700 for a Gucci belt. It ain't nothing but a belt, and you ain't even trying to pull your pants up anyway. Like your pants are hanging down to your butt crack, right? So why are you even paying $700 for a belt? You should probably get a cheap belt because you're not going to use it, right? But seriously, you pay that money for a Gucci belt because somebody at Gucci said, okay, let me figure out how to trick people into believing that a belt with a Gucci logo on it is more valuable than a belt with, some other logo on it, right? So the mind control is pretty deep. It's pretty deep. Let me keep reading about cults here. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up and share this video if you could. Please share. I'm really asking you to do that because it doesn't just help the algorithm, but it actually, it's like a gospel. Like Blackness and Black empowerment really is almost like going to church. So it's kind of appropriate I'm talking to you guys on a Sunday because this needs to be our church. Black economic power needs to become the second religion for our community. We must become ride or die committed to the idea of us becoming more intelligent, more empowered, more economically strong, having better children, all these things, because that's what it takes. Right. When you're changing the culture of a losing basketball team to make them into winners, you have to literally be crazy. Remember not Judge Joe Brown, Joe, the basketball coach that went into that crappy high school and the kids were so used to losing that they barely didn't want to win. I think his name might have been Joe Brown, right? I don't remember. But you know what I'm talking about? It was Lean on Me. Remember, he had to come in there with a baseball bat and threaten to kick everybody's ass in order to get them to straighten up, right? So basically what I'm saying to you guys is that's what it's going to take. You're going to have to commit to this. If you want your life and your family to be strong, you got to really look at this like a religion. Okay, so let me keep going. So let's see here. This is interesting. They say cults don't want completely unpredictable people to join. That's why. So there's a myth that cults will attract people that are mentally ill. They say cults don't want completely unpredictable people to join. Rather, they want relatively stable people who can work to forward the cult's goals and donate money. Relatively healthy people going through stressful periods, therefore, are their prime targets. So another tactic that they use to pull people into cults, like the Democratic Party cult, is love bombing. Originally coined by the Moonies, love bombing is more or less self-explanatory. Having identified a stressed and emotionally vulnerable target, listen now, pay close attention. This is so good. Cults flood that person with affection, flattery, and validation, right? Black Lives Matter. Remember when Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats went to the House chamber and they all wore kente cloth and got on one knee and bowed down? Remember that? Or you see the images of white people kissing black people's feet and all this other stuff, right? So this sudden flood of love, like we love you, you're so wonderful. This flattery, right? Because flattery is cheap. It doesn't cost me anything. That flattery is cheaper than reparations, right? So when the black person shows up and says, I don't need your flattery. Fuck you, pay me. Right? Then they don't know what to do with that. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. You're not a fit for the cult because you actually don't need the flattery. I'm past the flattery. I'm on a higher vibrational frequency. I'm not a low frequency Negro. I'm not somebody that needs your security and I don't need your flattery, right? Because literally when they show you, I always talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You should look it up. Maslow's hierarchy of needs shows the development of a person. At the very bottom is the basic low vibrational stuff you need just to survive, like food and water. And then above that is security. So you'll give up your security to get food and water. If you're starving enough, you'll go into a dangerous situation in order to get food. Then after that, there's like esteem from others and love and validation. And then at the top is self-actualization. Self-actualization is what I always aim for. Self-actualization is where you say, you know what, I'm safe, I'm well fed, I love myself, I am loved by others, I've received esteem. Now I want to do something that's more relevant. I want to do something that matters, right? I want to actually do something that's bigger than myself because I don't need you to pat me on the back and tell me I'm wonderful. I already know that. I don't need you to come feed me. I already know that, so I can't be bought, right? So you get to that self-actualization piece. So they don't know what to do with the self-actualized black person. They really don't. They only know how to handle the low vibration Negro. Like those people that are down at the bottom mentally, right? Not that they're bad people, they're just down, they just haven't evolved yet. And they're still scared and they're struggling. And they feel like, oh my God, I can't, so I can't think about things like reparations or a black agenda because I am so scared. So that's why I was so fascinated when Amanda Seales, that old crazy lady that's on that TV show, when Amanda Seales did that video where she literally comes out to her millions of followers, because again, she's picked by white supremacy. White people picked her. White people picked her as, you know, as a big person in the black community because they put her on TV, and then next thing you know, she's got millions of followers. And she comes out after the Trump debate, and she's basically saying, you know, no, forget the black agenda, forget reparations. We don't need to talk about none of that. We don't need to talk about no. We need to focus on one thing, right? That was that low vibrational fear operating, where it's like, forget everything else. We got to survive, y'all. Our existence is threatened, y'all. Right. So Amanda, yeah, she is mentally ill. I think Amanda definitely is mentally ill. But this is not dissing Amanda. This is just what it is, right? She's a product of that brainwashing. That's what it is. So let me read more. So love bombing. This cult awareness educator, Ronald N. Loomis, described this practice on college campuses as involving, quote, a recruiter approaching the student and doing everything they can to make the student feel special and unique. They're quickly trying to convey the message that I am your new best friend. And they will fake mutual interest. They'll pretend to be interested in the things you're interested in order to give the impression that they share many things in common. Right. So a lot of times politicians will, you know, they'll come to your church. They'll eat barbecue chicken with your pastor. They'll have hot sauce in their bag. They'll do the wobble next to Roland Martin. Right. They'll do all these little things to make you feel like you're connected. They'll be dancing to hip hop music. They'll tell you that Tupac was their favorite rapper in college. Right. They'll do all these things to make you feel like, oh, we got something in common. Oh, you just like me. So next thing you know, you get things like, remember Ricky Smiley? Did anybody see where Ricky Smiley had Kamala Harris on, and they started playing Atomic Dog, and Kamala knows the words. I mean, who doesn't know the words to Atomic Dog? And she starts saying, Atomic Dog. And then she's like, bow, wow, wow, yippee, yo, yippee, yay. That literally was enough to make Ricky Smiley say, oh my God, I can't believe she said, Atomic Dog. And then she said, bow, wow, wow, yippee, yo, yippee, yay. Oh, she got my vote. She got my vote, right? That was interesting to me, right? And like, I could see him saying, you know, like, wow, I didn't know Kamala Harris was down like that. That's interesting. But then you say, but me voting for you is a separate thing because I'm an intelligent person. I'm an intelligent, logical human being. So you coming in and singing Atomic Dog is not going to make me give up my valuable vote, right? Like I need a little bit more than that, right? Like imagine if you went to go, and, you know, think about this. I mean, I just process this in other scenarios, right? So imagine if, ladies, if a man wants to get in your pants, and all he does is he finds out that you like the song Atomic Dog, and he knows that, and he can literally have sex with you because he sings Atomic Dog to you. Like, how crazy would you be? How ridiculous would you be? Right? You know, like, or imagine if you went to go buy a car, and the car dealer's like, well, this car is $15,000. You're like, I only want to pay $13,000. And then the Atomic Dog comes on, and the car dealer's like, Atomic Dog, bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. And you're sitting in the car like, yeah, bow wow wow, yeah, like y'all vibing, and you really have a moment, and you say, okay, I'll pay $15,000 for that car. You sang Atomic Dog to me. So imagine what they would say about you in the back room if they're planning on how to get your money. They'd be like, man, this dude's so stupid. All we got to do is sing Atomic Dog, and he's going to like give us all his money because he's a dumbass, right? He's not logical. He's so desperate for friends that he literally will give an extra $2,000 because we sang Atomic Dog. Are you kidding me? Right? Like that will make you look like the dumbest person. Like they will make jokes about you, right? So the point is to say that when you talk about cults, that's what they do. They pretend to be your new best friend. Now, by the way, everybody on Instagram is about to go out because I guess it ends at an hour. I'm going to just restart this feed again, like right after this is done. So if you disappear, just come right back because I'm going to go live again because we got more to talk about. So by the way, do me a favor. If you want to get text notifications when we go live, text the word BOICE to 31996. Text BOICE to 31996. And by the way, every week, Dr. Claude Anderson and I meet for Powernomics Masterclass. If you want to go take a look, feel free. You can go to powernomicsmasterclass.com. The URL is right there on the screen. And here's something also that you can have that will help you if you let me see here. You can follow me on Twitter there, and something else. I can't find it. I want to give you a free e-copy of my book. It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. I can't find it. I'll find it. When I find it, here we go. There we go. So you can get an actually free copy of the book. So it's totally free. It's It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. And basically it breaks down the vision for the Black community into 4 categories: wealth, education, family, and community. And it's a new paradigm. And Louis Farrakhan and I did an event back in 2013 in Chicago, where all we did was we talked about those 4 areas: wealth, education, family, and community. And then I did another event, a couple other events in DC and New York. And I think I'm going to do it again. I think this is a good time for us to sort of revamp ourselves in all these areas, so we can make sure we can implement a Black agenda that we can follow without asking for anybody's permission. So I'm going to end you guys on Instagram. I'm going to bring you guys right back. Okay, so hit the thumbs up button while I do this, if you could, please. And I'm going to bring everybody on Instagram back. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins, by the way, if you want to follow me on Instagram. And so please, I'd love to have you guys follow me on Instagram, because what happens is I lose about 1,000 people a week because they get pissed off at what I say. And I'm totally okay with that. But the great thing is I replace those people with better people. So it's almost like dialysis, how it purifies your blood. So your old blood goes out and the new blood comes in. I like when new blood comes in, because I'm really more of a mobilizer. I'm not a bridge builder. I'm not a unifier. I'm a mobilizer, right? So I like to preach to the choir. I don't like to preach to the heathens. I can't do it. I'm not the pastor who's going to be out trying to talk to a hooker about, how changing her life. I let somebody else do their job, right? I'm not going to mess with the hooker. I'm not going to dog her out. I'm just going to say to the congregation, like, look, we don't want to be hookers. Let's figure out how we can be stronger as people, and then we can go save the world, right? So you have to strengthen yourself individually, and then strengthen your family. Then you can go save all the Black people who are going to fight you, try to stab you in the neck, and go, beat you up because you're trying to help. Like, so just keep that in mind. All right. So give me 1 second here. All right. This is so much fun. I just love a good Sunday morning. Me and Alicia slept in this morning, so today was like, like I woke up and she's like, uh-oh. She's like, you feeling it? I said, yeah, I'm feeling the Holy Spirit. So I came downstairs to set up in my office. All right, so let me go back to this. Okay, so love bombing is the second method that's used by cults to recruit members. That's basically where you give people a lot of false validation, affection, flattery. You pretend like you're interested in the things they're interested in. These are tactics that politicians use, and they work best on people that are stressed, emotionally vulnerable, etc., or people that have low self-esteem, stuff like that. The next thing that they do to get you into a cult is isolation. So I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to tell you how I think this applies to the way politicians recruit their members. Once they've enticed a recruit with approval or the promise of fulfilling some fulfilling understanding of the universe, cultists then work to isolate the recruit. Often this takes the form of a weekend retreat where the recruit is immersed in the cult's ideology over the course of a few days. Not only are recruits physically isolated from friends and family who might otherwise provide a reality check, but cults often isolate recruits from outside information. So what's going on here? My translation to this politically is, number one, people on the internet tend to live in silos now. They tend to hear information that only validates what they already believe, right? Like, so somebody starts challenging your belief about the Democratic Party, you end up blocking that person or whatever. Even it might be your cousin, your baby, your sibling or whatever, right? But you get rid of that person because that person doesn't fit your worldview. The other way isolation applies is similar to how a relationship works. One of the things that I've noticed the Democrats are very good at doing is that they use a tactic that abusive men use when they're with a vulnerable woman and they don't want her to be empowered. They'll say something like, well, if I don't love you, nobody will. Or they'll take that person, that woman away from her family so she doesn't have her backup and have her support, right? And so when you isolate that person and make them feel like they have no options and no choice, like, well, if you leave, all you're going to do is end up stuck with those 3 kids and you won't be able to pay no bills by yourself. Like, I've seen these things happen in real life. Give me a yes or no if you've ever seen somebody use that type of abuse, either emotional abuse or financial abuse, to maintain control in a relationship. Well, when I see the Democrats, I see all forms of that sort of emotional abuse that says, when you say, I'm not happy with the Democratic Party, they come right back and say, well, what are you going to do? Go vote for Trump? You're going to be a Trump supporter now? Right? Or you say, look, I'm not happy. You guys aren't delivering on your promises. Well, I mean, what other options do you have? I mean, if you go back with them, I had somebody tell me that that Donald Trump was going to put us in concentration camps. Right. So that fear, that isolation to say, this is all you got, this is your only safe haven. That's something that abusers use. Like, abusers will abuse the hell out of you. But the way they're able to maintain that abuse is to convince you that there's nothing better out there for you anywhere. Right. That's a type of isolationism that I've seen happen in abusive relationships. If anybody does that to you, don't let them do that to you. Get out of that relationship. There's always a place for you to go. So the last thing they mentioned here, which is really interesting, is what they call keeping control. I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to tell you how the Democrats applied this tactic in the last election cycle. After convincing you that they're the best friends you've ever had and bombarding you with the cult's ideology, the cultist's next job is to make sure they hang on to you. There's a variety of techniques they can use to accomplish this, but these usually involve iteratively subjecting the cult recruit to terror and love. In an interview with Aon, social psychologist Alexandra Stein explained that, quote, when we are frightened, which a lot of Black people are frightened, right? Oh my God, we're going to die from corona. Oh my God, the police are going to kill us. Oh my God, the Proud Boys are going to mobilize and come in with AK-47s in every Black neighborhood, right? Constant fear. And it's never stuff that actually happened, right? Like, you cannot show me any example of 1,000 Black people that were murdered last week by the Proud Boys. That I hold on to that, right? It's usually built on what could happen. Like, oh no, the second wave of the virus is coming; it's going to kill everybody. Or, oh my God, the police might shoot your son, right? And if you present data that says, well, actually, the number of Black men shot per year, unarmed Black men killed per year by the police is less than 50. It's still something that has to be resolved, but it doesn't mean every police officer has a death wish where they're looking for Black boys to hunt that day. That's not an accurate enough narrative to be able to really solve the problem. The problem is the criminal justice system, where right now there are thousands of men and women in prison right now being beaten and raped every day, right now, right while we're talking, right? Because we're ignoring that, because we're worried that every police officer is going to come and kill our son tomorrow, right? I have a 17-year-old son. He goes out into the world. I'm not sitting here worried about that. I'm worried about the entirety of all the things that can happen to him. So the conversation has to be broader than just, if a cop pulls you over, you might die, right? That's not even a healthy discussion to have, right? But you keep people on the brink of fear, or the Proud Boys are going to mobilize. And there was a like a Jussie Smollett that they were pulling on people recently, where there was a fake letter from the NAACP that was warning that the white nationalist groups are mobilizing to come in and start killing people. And again, I'm not saying this isn't possible. Right? We're not saying that. I'm not saying that this hasn't happened. Go back 100 years, there were some terrible things that occurred. I'm saying that there's a difference between talking about what might happen versus what did happen. And I don't think people know the difference. And that's a really important distinction you have to make, because if you don't, then what happens is that they're able to go into this realm of imagination and use their imagination to create something that becomes very real for you. I talk about things that are real. I say, okay, here's the exact data on exactly how many Black fathers were taken out of the home during the Joe Biden crime bill. Like, this was real. These were real people. This really happened. This is not what could happen. This is what actually did occur, right? Where someone will counter that with something that didn't happen, but could happen, right? Like Trump could get all the Proud Boys together and come kill everybody, right? But that's just not the same thing. And also, as a mathematician and a person who's been introduced extensively to metaphysical concepts from Alicia's big into metaphysics and the subconscious mind. I'm big on mathematics. So when she talks about things that are metaphysical, I'll link that back to things I learned about higher dimensionality in mathematics. And so to give you a simple example of where higher dimensionality gives a person the ability to manipulate you, I want to ask you this. I got a lot of soldiers in the room, a lot of people here that are veterans and things like that. If you're in a military battle, is it better for you to have the lower ground or the higher ground? If you're which one do you want to have? Do you want to have the higher ground on your enemy or the lower ground? Do you want to be down in the cavern, where looking up at them and firing up at them, or do you want to be at the top shooting down at them? You want the high ground, right? The high ground, right? Well, that's a dimensionality concept. Basically, what you're saying is that they're on a 2-dimensional plane, and you want access to the 3rd dimension, where I can be the same place as you, but I'm higher than you, which gives me an advantage over you because I can see the whole field. Remember, I told you all this links to vision. Remember, I was speaking earlier that wealth builders are visionaries. They're able to go to higher ground above you. That's why wealth builders are able to build wealth while other people are struggling, because they're kind of stuck in that lower dimension, right? So basically, at the end of the day, that's one of the things I'm going to always teach you is go to the higher ground, right? Because that's where the advantage is, and don't let other people get the higher ground over you. So where does this apply to white people and their dirty tricks and how they manipulate black people? Well, when you're a lower dimensional thinker and you're on a low vibration frequency of fear, you're on the lower ground. So they're on the higher ground. They can go not just to the land of what actually occurred, they're able to go to the land of what if. That's another dimension. That adds so for example, the past is the past, right? Things happen the way they happen. But higher ground is not just what actually happened, it's all the things that could have happened, right? Or the future is going to be the future. Like there's only going to be one future, one reality, right? But the higher ground is where I talk about not just all the things that do happen, but all the things that could happen, right? Like the Proud Boys could come in with a nuclear bomb and kill every black person everywhere, right? Like that's a higher dimension. They've obtained the higher ground where they're able to go to the higher ground and send down very alarming, very scary, lower dimensional projections that become real to you. That you see them say, well, the Proud Boys could come and kill everybody tomorrow, and you're like, oh my God, the Proud Boys are killing everybody tomorrow. No, they didn't say that they're actually going to do it. They said they could do it, right? So, but if you're not able to really think, if you're not a critical thinker, you're going to miss that. And a lot of our people, unfortunately, are not critical thinkers, right? But media plays a big part in that. The brainwashing of media. I explained to you scientifically how watching too much television minimizes the strength of your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for your logical thinking. When you don't have a prefrontal cortex, your thinking becomes very animalistic. You act on instincts, you act on fear, you act on desire, sex, hunger, right? Those are the basic instincts that drive you, as opposed to sitting back and saying basic stuff like, that girl looks real good. I'd like to get with her right now. But wait a minute, she might have a disease. I don't want to have no more kids. I don't want to pay child support. My marriage might fall apart, right? That's what the prefrontal cortex does. The animal instinct is where you behave like a dog, where you just jump in bed with the girl because she's got a big butt and a smile. Next thing you know, you're crying because you have to pay child support, or you got an STD, or your wife done left you because you got too many babies mamas out here, right? So, and we know people like this, right? Many of us know people like this, right? Who make decisions and then don't understand where the consequences came from. Like almost like somebody else did it. They're trained to think that way. Just the same way I'm encouraging you and I'm training you to think logically and to think intelligently. They've been trained to think like animals and to just move and just do what they're going to do. I heard a rapper. A lot of it's in music, actually. They encourage instant gratification. That's one of the reasons why black wealth does not grow, is because a lot of the music that's planned, again, controlled by the higher dimensional thinkers. It's controlled by other people who manage the industry and manipulate the artists. But I heard one of the rappers in his lyrics specifically, it said, we gonna ball today, fuck tomorrow, right? So basically, like, I'm gonna get mine today. I'm gonna live today. I don't care about tomorrow, right? So again, that instant gratification culture is encouraged, and you see it acted out everywhere, and you see the consequences spill out everywhere, right? How do you expect to have a harvest when you didn't plant any seeds, right? So, but you'll have people like that will say, I have no harvest, I have no money, I have no wealth, I have no nothing, right? But then you'll say, well, did you plant any seeds? And then all they know how to do is get mad at you because they think that you're being uppity, right? Or that you're being mean, or that you're being critical. No, I'm actually just trying to help you understand why you don't have any seeds. Or you don't have a harvest. You don't have a harvest because you didn't plant anything, right? So always remember that higher dimensional thinking is very, very important. So one of the ways that cults keep control is that he says, quote, when we are frightened, we don't simply run away from the fear, but sometimes we run to a safe haven, to someone, and that someone is usually a person to whom we feel attached. But when the supposed safe haven is also the source of the fear, then running to that person is a failing strategy, causing the frightened person to freeze, trapped between approach and avoidance. So basically, what they're saying is that the cult member will use fear and love to manipulate you, pull you back and forth, back and forth. So with the Democratic Party, one of the things that Black people get is you get a lot of love and adulation. You see Joe Biden, in the Black church swaying with the choir and eating barbecue chicken and pretending like he's down with Black people. But then when somebody rises up like an ice cube and says, "No, I'm challenging you," then suddenly they go into gangster mode. They go into gangster mode where they say, okay, we're going to get on the phone with all of our friends in Hollywood to do whatever we can to stop you from getting any opportunities ever. We're also going to call our friends on Saturday Night Live and get them to clown you as a Trump supporter, even though you never endorsed Trump, you never wore a MAGA hat, you never said that you were only doing this for taxes, but we're going to literally use the power of propaganda to get people to reduce you to nothing but a cartoon character, right? So that sort of back and forth is a lot like a pimp, right? Like pimps can be the most loving, sweet, wonderful people in the world. Baby, you're beautiful. You look good, girl. We gonna, feeding them a dream. Girl, one day we're gonna go to Tahiti, girl. You so fine. Well, here, let me get you that coat. I'm gonna buy you another mink next year, right? But then the minute she starts to question the system, then suddenly he's pulling back that pimp hand. He knows he got to keep the pimp hand strong, right? You knock her damn teeth out if she gets out of control. And then you're doing the carrot and the stick. You're letting her know, look, eat the carrot or I'm going to have to give you the stick, right? So basically with the Democratic Party, Black people get that. Anybody who speaks up, and I got a lot of this too. I got a lot of this very interesting reaction. And many times it was from Black people actually, where they would assume I was a Trump supporter because I did not support the Democrats. And I eventually became immune to it. I was like, whatever, I don't care. But that sort of constant attack of people that are actually wanting something better for Black people, I see that in that context of this sort of fear-love back and forth that's used to maintain a cult. So it says also by keeping cult members totally off balance in this way, cults increase their members' dependency on the leader. So they mentioned dependency, they mentioned failed strategy. So the person is like, damn, I don't like my pimp, but that's the place, but I have Stockholm Syndrome, so I want to be next to the pimp, right? That's why if you try to don't ever try to liberate a hooker. Like Willie D said, let a hoe be a hoe, right? He said that in a song. So don't ever try to liberate a hooker unless she's really ready to be liberated, because a hooker will be more loyal to the pimp than anybody else, even though the pimp is the number one source of her problems. Right. So if anybody remember the Boondocks, remember that Boondocks episode when Granddad fell in love with a hoe? Remember that? And he fell in love with the lady, and she was because he took her to Red Lobster and she got the cheddar biscuits and all that. And then he really got caught up in like all that she could be. He saw what she could be as a human being, but she didn't see that. And so what happened? What happened at the end? Well, a pimp named Slickback came, that was his whole name, literally, a pimp named Slickback. So a pimp named Slickback came to the house, and he didn't even have to really fight Granddad to get her back. He was like, don't you hit that woman. Remember, he pulled out the belt when the pimp pulled his hand back, and he got caught with the belt. And he said, don't you hit that woman. He said, this, sir, is not a woman. This is a hoe. And basically he was like, okay, well, I'm going to just show you how brainwashing works. He said, I don't even have to really do anything. I don't have to kidnap her. She's doing this in her own free will. So he gets in the car. Remember, he gets in the car. He's like, 1, 2. He said, I'm going to count to 5 and I'm going to drive away. Next thing you know, she's running down the street in high heels, chasing his Cadillac because she needs to go back to the pimp. A lot of Black people are really being pimped by the Democratic Party. Like, you really love your pimp. And it's similar to that story in the Boondocks. We will have more loyalty to the pimp than we have to our own people. Like, we literally, will be more loyal to the abuser than we are to the people that actually want to help us escape the abuse. Or because many of us are just not ready. Like, what do you mean I can do better? What do you mean I can do for self? I can't do for self. I need my pimp, right? So you'll go back and you'll keep going back to the same failed strategy, the same failed process, the same party where I can show you data. I can pull out pages and pages of data, indisputable data that shows you that this is not working. This is not a successful strategy. But it doesn't matter. I keep going back to the failed process because I've been victimized by a cult. And also because I'm caught in this fear and love back and forth where because of my Stockholm Syndrome, I can't run away from the thing that harms me the most because I love that thing so much. Right. So if you want to understand the relationship between many Black people and the Democrats, go watch that episode in the Boondocks. It's called A Pimp Named Slickback. And if you analyze the behavior of the prostitute, every bit of it is very similar to exactly what you see with Black people and the Democrats. It's utterly fascinating, actually. And also, it reminds you, like when Willie D said, "Let a hoe be a hoe," right? Don't try to turn a hoe into a housewife. Like that sounds sexist on the surface, but it's kind of true. Some hoes don't want to be housewives. Some hoes don't believe that they're worthy of being housewives. So it doesn't mean that you should discriminate. Like I think that if a person has a past and they're trying to do better, you should be patient with them, but they have to make the first choice. If they have to take the first step, if they're not really ready to take the first step, then you got to go deal with somebody else. Granddad should have saved the cheddar biscuits for a woman who really felt worthy of that kind of treatment. Because in some situations, and tell me if this is not true. Tell me if this is not true. Have you ever been in a situation where you treated somebody well, and because you treated them so well, you got shitted on in a royal way? You got treated like shit because you felt like that person was worth something that they themselves did not feel worthy of. Never do that. Never try to love a person with low self-esteem because it will only serve to destroy you. Period. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Also, my Instagram is the real boy. Oh, sorry, you can follow the Black Financial Channel on Instagram also if you want to. That's where we do a lot of financial updates. And also text the word "boys" to 31996 if you want to get notifications. I'm gonna finish this up and then we'll be done. Okay, so he says, by keeping cult members totally off balance in this way, cults increase their members' dependency on the leader, ensuring they retain control. The exhausting frozen state of terror and avoidance overwhelms cult members and their ability to think critically about the ideology. That's where Amanda Seales comes in. No, we don't need no Black agenda now, y'all. Forget the Black agenda. Forget reparations. We gotta right, because fear overwhelms, it overrides your prefrontal cortex. You're so busy being scared that you can't make a plan. You can't think strategically, right? That's why, for example, the people that are the best negotiators are the people that you can't scare. Or like, for example, I love to play the game of poker because it's a great game of psychology, strategy, and math. I don't like gambling too much. Gambling is not fun for me. But poker requires you to not be scared. If you walk in there like you're scared, you will get your butt kicked. You have to be ready to lay all your chips on the table and possibly go broke, because you have to have more courage than the person that you're against. But you also have to have the intelligence to know which battles you want to stay out of. So either you fight hard or you sit to the side. You don't get in the fight and then start getting squeamish because you're always going to lose, right? So here, so the last piece they say is that breaking out of the situation usually requires, now this is what gives hope to the people that are shifting their thinking, right? I hear from you all the time. I hear from people all the time who used to think one way, now they're thinking a different way. And I'm very proud of you, by the way, for being open-minded enough to make the adjustments. That's how I became a better man. When I always talk about when I used to be the fat boys. Now I'm like the slimmer boys. Even my face lost weight, right? But when I was the fat boys, the reason I stayed fat and the reason my health got worse every year and I gained more weight every year was because I didn't want to change my thinking. You come to me and tell me to go running, I'd be like, I don't want to run. It makes my knees hurt. You tell me to eat different, I'd be like, no, I don't want to eat different. I like pizza and chocolate cake and Twizzlers, right? And so Alicia basically had to, I had to open my mind. Like, I can only be convinced when I open myself enough to be convinced, right? When I became open-minded and said, okay, all right, what's the solution? So I'm pissed off. I'm like, damn, I do not want to run. I do not. It's cold outside. And we were running with white people, and they would go out in like 7-degree weather. And I'm like, who the fuck goes running when it's 7 degrees outside, right? But I just surrendered to it. I surrendered to it, and the benefits were enormous, right? Like, I really had to be willing to let the old voice die, or a piece of him die, so that a new voice could be born, right? So in order for people to grow, in order for you to grow yourself, and this is let's bring it back to you. you're going to have to find that part of you that's frustrating you. Like whatever it is that's not working for you, you are absolutely going to have to open your mind for a change. You're gonna have to surrender. Like, when they tell, like the churches do, the churches have people like, if you're going through all kinds of shit and they're like, anybody want to come up to the altar and give themselves to Jesus and surrender to Jesus, and you're like, I gotta surrender because you just can't take it no more. Like, you can't figure it out, the solution. So you're just like, I just will bow and all right, I'll do anything. And my mother did that. Just as a side note, my mother actually, when she gave birth to me, she was 17 years old and she didn't know. She's like, I do not know how to take care of this baby. So she went to church and she said, I gave you to God. I literally put you on the altar and gave you to God because I did not know what I was going to do. Right. So at some point in your life, you may have to do the same thing. Maybe not so much in church, but all of us at some point, anybody who's ever gone through a real transformation is going to have to take themselves to church. It might not be the Christian church or the Muslim church. It just might be the church of you, the church of happiness, the church of success, the church of freedom. Like whatever your church is, whatever it is that you want out of your life, like there's a point where you got to surrender and accept the idea that what you're doing is not working. And so I applaud you if you've done that. I encourage you to do that if you haven't tried it yet, because it'll be almost fucking cleansing. Do you know how great I feel knowing that I got on the scale and I weighed 207.4 pounds. And for the longest time, I was 222, 225, 229. I go to the doctor, I'd be mad because I gained weight and I thought I lost weight. Now it's like I feel slim, trim, and sugar-free, and it's wonderful, right? But you got to go through hell if you want to get to heaven. There's no way around that, period. So they said breaking out of the situation usually requires some other ally, another cult member who has become fed up with the system, or another outside influence. So typically people break out of cults when they talk to somebody who used to be in the cult who says, I'm not doing that no more, right? And they said broadly, cults retain control of their members by controlling the narrative. Dissenting voices offer a landmark to cult members that they can use to situate themselves and find their way back to objective reality. So they said that basically cult members or the leaders of cults will try to control the narrative. Again, that's why we're going to put Ice Cube on SNL wearing a MAGA hat, talking about taxes when none of that's true, right? We're going to control the narrative. Or Ice Cube is a sloppy rapper who just threw together a couple pieces of paper and called it a black agenda, right? Like they love to control the narrative. Or Boyce Watkins is just this crazy black man who's out here talking shit, who wants black people to all go vote for Trump, right? They control the narrative. Right. But the thing is that when you have people that used to be in the cult, and that can explain why the cult isn't in your best interest, that's your best chance to leave the cult. So I used to be in the cult. In fact, I'm curious. I'd like to ask that right now. How many of you, yes or no, give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of you used to be in the cult of the Democratic Party? Give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of you used to be like hardcore Democrat? Like all Republicans are racist, even the black ones, even the black Republicans are racist and whatever. And being an independent was stupid. And the Democrats have all the answers. And I'm, Bill Clinton is my guy, or Barack Obama. Like a lot of you voted for Obama, and you're good people, right? Like you really wanted the best. Like you really thought it was going to work. Like I voted for Obama and I endorsed him before anybody else did, and in 2006, 2007, I don't remember what year it was. I said, this guy's smart, and Hillary Clinton, he got endorsed by Oprah, and Hillary might have a problem. And at that time, that didn't make sense because Hillary was really leading Obama by a long shot in the polls. It wasn't until Cornel West got together. Cornel West told me about this, where he, Barack, Jesse Jackson Jr., David Axelrod, and a couple other people got together in a hotel room for the entire day. And they said, how do we get black people to support Barack? What do we got to do? And whatever they came up with in that hotel room, and Cornel West told me the story in 2013 when we did an event together in New York. He said we all got together, and the problem was we can't figure out how to get black people to support Barack, which sounds almost unbelievable. It almost sounds like when they tell you, when you read those headlines that were in the 80s where they said, will Michael Jordan ever win a championship? Does he have what it takes to win a title, right? Now it sounds ridiculous, but at that time it wasn't ridiculous. So basically, that's a great moral to the story, that maybe the things that now seem ridiculous are not going to be so ridiculous 10, 20 years from now. Right. So maybe right now it sounds ridiculous to imagine Black people running billion-dollar companies, or Black communities being strong and prosperous, or Black people building their own, or Black people able to, own tons and tons of real estate all around the world, or Black children being the most economically sophisticated group of people in the world. But I'm okay with living in the land of ridiculous until I recreate it in the land of possibility. Right. So let's look at what's possible for our people. Let's look at what we can do, and let's have the patience to go ahead and pursue that agenda without anybody's permission. And I guarantee you that if you do that consistently, and those of us who care will do this, then you're going to see progress made in the Black community. Okay. So congratulations to those of you who are open-minded enough to even listen. You don't have to agree. I know that some of the things I say are a little bit hard to swallow. But I say it because I believe it to be true. So most importantly, I want what's best for you. So do me a favor before we go, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. And also don't forget, you can get a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, by going to allblackeconomics.com. And you can also text the word BOYCE to 31996 to get text notifications. And so one of you asked about this, so feel free to go to financialworkbooks.com if you want to take a look at our financial workbooks and flashcards that we have for kids. That's financialworkbooks.com. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button right now if you haven't done it yet. Subscribe on whatever YouTube platform that you're on, or Facebook. Also, if you could, give me a yes in the chat if you're willing to do this. If you could just share this video, just hit the share button and share it somewhere so other people can see it. That really helps, because we're building Black media, and I want more people to see the message, because I believe that if they embrace it and they listen, I believe it's going to give them possibility they never had before. So if you could, give me a yes in the chat. If you can just hit the share button or grab the link and just share it to your Facebook page, that would mean the world to me. So thank you guys for listening. I'm out of here. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day. Be